All right. Hello. Welcome to week one breakdown of sorts. We're gonna go through um the week one battles and trades that were made. I am joined here today with my good buddy Panda. We're here for LPL if you didn't know, it's gonna be in the title though. I'm great at intros. Panda.
I'm just here, sorry, not the Swedish boy. I know
Yeah.
everyone's disappointed.
Swedish boy wanted to prioritize his own videos, which makes sense. So he's not here joining
Loser.
us for this one. But I'm sure we will have him back for other weeks doing other things. Yeah, so we're gonna go through the battles in the order that they happened, talk a bit about some misplays that were made, try to help inform people on like why those were misplays and what they could have done about them, and then talk about trades and see how we feel about everyone's new teams now that trades have been made. Some people's final teams, some people use all four trades after week one. Um, So, yeah, we're gonna hop right into this with Voltage versus Hunter. This is the San Jose Sharpedos is Hunter's team versus the Californian Gambits is Voltage. So I'm just gonna play this at normal speed, and we're kind of gonna talk over it. Ultimately, how this battle ended up going, Voltage does end up winning. We're gonna spoil these battles ahead of time. Um, and Yeah, I one of the first misplays I want to talk about is coming up here, and I'll let Panda comment on it as well. It's right around here as Goldango takes Tapu Koko's choice specs, and then he stays in and just kind of lets Tapu Koko die to Goldango. Um, yeah, do you
Do you
have
want to
anything
pause
to say
it
about
real
that?
quick here?
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and just part of that thing is it's not even necessarily like getting tricked there. I'm not sure if like Hunter had the calcs with like specs does so much damage that he wanted to get on Goldango. I'm not sure if Coco had Volt Switch. It should have,
hmm
especially being
Or
specs and
U-turn.
just
I think
Coco
it should
being
have
a
had
general.
U-turn. I think it should have had U-turn
Either or.
because of Swampert.
Yeah, that whole choice scarf swampert really gonna come back and bite everyone in the ass this season. Uh, just some momentum carrying move. Just bounce out the Chansey. Even hard switching the Chansey if for some reason you really can't put a switching move on there. Chansey just being the ultimate defense Pokemon of
I
sorts.
Even with choice specs on there, I'm pretty positive that Chansey ate that Make It Rain at like 33% probably, if not less.
Yeah,
It
we're
might
not gonna
depend on
pull
the
up a bunch
set.
of
Yeah,
calcs for
I'm not
this.
gonna calc that, but I know Chansey's natural bulk pretty damn well, and I know Goldango. It has a pretty high special attack stat, but it's not all that great. It's like around 110, I think, something like that. Um, and so I definitely think Chansey could have ate that hit, and Chansey's at pretty much full health right now. I think it's at 96% right now. Um, so yeah, we're gonna keep going. Another thing that we're kind of seeing here that we wanted to comment on was that it does not seem like Hunter was prepared at all for Tangrowth, which Tangrowth is a very hard Pokemon to prepare for, especially when it's in the rain. But I mean, like it kind
Yeah,
of made it really hard for your team to gain progress at all.
Um, also, Dragapult just throwing out a Draco Meteor on a Tangrowth, one that's never killing, and especially when you already got your item knocked off. So the fact that you just kind of threw that out there really just kind of made Dragapult dead weight for the rest of this battle. If you had clicked like just Shadow Ball, anything else, you could have maybe fished for some Spadef drops, some anything else, a little bit of
Draco
hack
Meteor might have
somewhere.
killed Tangrowth. Tangrowth isn't very specially bulky, and I
It
don't think
also
that was
had,
an
I believe
Assault
it had Assault
Vest.
Vest.
I
I
don't
think
think it
it was.
was. We can ask them, but I'm not sure.
Um,
Um, Either way,
no, it
even
was
still, it would have
leftovers.
been very big damage on it. Uh, I think if yeah, it was leftovers. uh, Draco Meteor could have killed. Um,
Not without choice specs. He got that knocked off, so I don't think it was a big enough risk. It also just made it so that way anything can come in for free at that point. Which, like, even 2 turns of rain, that just lets Kingdra do whatever it wants.
mhm,
Which, when you're already kind of down a mon, you don't want to give up more momentum. You need to start making plays to get back in it and start getting more
um,
things in your favor.
yeah, and right here, what we just saw, Excadrill just kinda staying in on Tangrowth and dying when Guzzlord is right there. Especially Guzzlord was assault fested, and you were seeing that this Tangrowth was clicking special attacks like Giga Drain. Like, come on, you resist that. You had Draco Meteor, you could have chunked it for massive damage. Um, and it's just one of those things of like, yeah, why are we sacrificing this Pokemon that is doing well when we know we can take the hit with something else?
Yeah,
Um,
Hunter just overall seemed very unprepared for this battle.
and it did
And
happen pretty early on too. It was like
yeah,
Monday or Tuesday, I think, when they battled. It might have actually been Monday. Um,
I'm a little questioning on the sets because looking at the sets, it seems like you just wanted to bring in Coco and Dragapult in key moments, and then switch around Chansey and Guzzlord and even Kartana to some extent. But it's not how you played, so I'm just wondering what the thought process
mhm,
behind him was.
yeah. So,
Obviously, uh, it's kind of hard to also just judge voltage here with Hunter being kind of unprepared because, like we were talking about before this, just all the safe plays that
mhm,
voltage was making.
yeah. Voltage played very well. I'm sorry we haven't been talking about you much, and is just kind of because you made this arguably correct play in a vacuum every single time. If you were just looking at not the full teams, but just what Pokemon were out in front and what Pokemon you had to potentially switch to, you made the correct play every single time. Not necessarily making predictions, but you didn't really need to. Um, and
Uh,
ultimately, yeah, I feel like that was Hunter's biggest problem, what you were just saying, Panda, was he didn't use his defensive pivots for what they were supposed to be. Chansey was on the field for like 5 turns, Guzzlord I think the same. And really, those two should have been soaking up most of the damage, especially early on, so that way he could slowly whittle down Voltage's team and get his offensive Pokemon in safer.
so yeah, one thing I also kind of want to point out, as we're looking just overall this battle, if you kind of just scan over all of the Pokemon, you can like see which moves were used. Chansey never clicked Wish, never
Hmm.
clicked Protect. Uh,
That.
Three of these Mons, Coco, Kartana, and Dragapult, all only clicked one move and then died, which
Hmm.
they were choiced. So it's like, okay, I understand that, but it also means you kind of just sent something in. It was just like, you are here until you die, and then we go again.
Hmm. And that was actually something else I wanted to talk about with Chansey. I really want to know what this Chansey set was, because like especially early on when you clicked Seismic Toss into the Pelipper, you switched to Goldango, sort of thing, or you end up hitting Pelipper with one Seismic Toss. Uh, did you have Toxic? Because Toxic would have been arguably better than just a little bit of chip on Pelipper with Seismic Toss, just to keep getting that damage every time it came in. Um, and then yeah, not you never clicked Wish, you didn't click Protect, you never like Wish passing with Chansey would have kept your entire team alive. Um, when Dragapult was low, it still came in and was able to like kind of do some things after it had already taken that damage. If you could have gotten a Wish passed to it by Chansey, it would have lasted even longer. Um, Same sort of thing with Excadrill, Cortana. And also, that would have allowed Guzzlord to do its job as an Assault Vest defensive pivot. Um, just kind of come in with its massive HP stat and the Assault Vest, take a few hits, get out, have Chansey Wish, and pass it to Guzzlord. Um, again, playing into the idea of you were kind of using your offensive Pokemon almost too aggressively and not giving your defensive pivots the room to breathe that they needed. Anything else?
Um, yeah, I don't. I'm trying to think of a little more just throw voltages way. Um,
He really he didn't misplay at all this game. I think he made the right plays. There's not much we can say about that.
I I almost want to kind of question. There's one thing I want to point out, and it's when Tangrowth ends up leech seeding the Excadrill and then swaps the Pelipper.
Hmm.
Um, I would almost argue that was a little bit of a misplay. Tangrowth was very healthy. There's very little that Excadrill has in its arsenal to really chunk Tangrowth massively, even at +2.
Yeah, I think the Iron
Um,
Head was doing about 30%. It clicked it a few times. I think that's around what it was doing.
yeah, so honestly, I think that's the only time that you maybe were a little overzealous because, especially with Regenerator, you're still going to get a bit of that back. You're going to get your Leech Seed back. You got to have
Mhm.
leftovers. You know, give it a second, take the hit, see what he's clicking. Um, and yeah, he may sit there and end up picking a different move, but also Pelipper into a +2 Rock Slide if he made that prediction would have hurt. So it's a thing
Yeah.
of you, and then you would have had Rain for no more of that fight. Um, and at that point, Dragapult was still alive. Uh, Dragapult was only at 30% and didn't have an item, but
But if it outspeeds your
Dragapult
entire
still
team, it doesn't
hurts.
matter.
Yeah, and especially if he like worms in a Chansey Wish, there's very much room for a little bit of comeback.
I mean, all
And he
Dragapult really had
also,
to do at that point was come in, click Draco Meteor, switch out. It chunks something, it switches out, it comes back in later, does it again.
yeah. So I think that is a little bit of a misplay that I did find while going through this. Otherwise, played fairly well. I'm trying to see when
Hmm.
Pelipper died. Also,
Pelipper did not die. Pelipper stayed alive the entire
Pelipper didn't
battle.
die. Okay, yes.
All right.
All right, yeah, yeah. Overall,
Um.
I there we go. Voltage. I found your one misplay.
Yeah. So I think the next few battles will be a bit quicker. They were I think shorter battles, and we also have less to say about them. So next up we have Shykrow versus Dragon Turtle. Um. I helped Dragon prep for this a lot. I'm just hitting play on this because I don't think that there were a ton of misplays, especially early on. Um, overall, though, I do just think that, I mean, spoiler again, if you don't want to know who wins until the end, skip ahead a few seconds. But there's not much we can say on Shy's part with the 6-0 win. Um, there's not many comments I can make that are like, you did this wrong.
We can very much we can point out the obvious one that even he commented on mid battle, sending in the Iron Moth right so early into the battle and
Hmm.
immediately just using its booster energy and then losing it.
Yep.
For how important that that +1 speed is, getting a one time thing, you know, it happens, but it's kind of just like remember some items are one use.
Hmm.
You don't gotta be overzealous, especially this early into the battle.
Yep. But I think I pause it here because I think this is the first and really most significant misplay. There was one other that Dragon made later on, but Colossal, I helped Dragon Mock a lot, so I know what the intention here was. It had Assault Vest with Terra Fire. It could take Earth Powers pretty casually. It also ate a Giga Drain or a Sludge Bomb like it was nothing, and it could two-hit KO the Mega Venusaur. Um, the problem is that he forgot what the plan was that we had established in our mocks. Um, Plan was pretty much always to go to Whimsicott first, bait the Earth Power, take that, and then bait a Sludge Bomb and switch to Colossal. He skipped that middleman and went straight to Colossal and lost 70% of his health and got a Spadef drop. So he had no more answer for the Mega Venusaur.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
and that was just failing his own prep. He was prepared for this. He had the answer. He just didn't play it out right in the actual battle. Uh, it's his first draft league battle. Nerves are probably getting to him a little bit. He really wanted to win. He panicked. He saw a Pokemon that he knew was threatening. He clicked his big red button. He clicked it too early. Um,
Yeah, I think that's just gonna be most of like what this battle is. You can because even mocking with Dragon for his week 2 battles, he's very just little go too fast. I think if he can just slow it down a little bit and
mhm.
like even just talk out loud to
Run
himself, being like,
counts.
what is his move? What is he
Yes.
doing? Where is he going with this?
Genuinely,
Um,
I want to pause here and just give this little piece of advice. Even if you never end up posting or anything, download a recording software, record your battles, and talk to yourself like you're a YouTuber. Like, talk about the play you're about to make. Because I can say from experience with my battle, which we're going to do next, that gave me the insight of just thinking about the plays before I made them. Like, okay, this thing is out, which means I'm probably going to do this. And I thought about it for a second before I clicked the button almost every time because I said it out loud. And generally, it was the right play. It was a play that I had planned to make, but it was something that I wasn't just clicking the buttons. I was talking about them. I was thinking about them. Um, and that's something that I would probably recommend you try as well, especially if you're moving fast, slow down, talk to yourself. Um, because the next misplay that we're gonna get to here pretty soon is pretty much the exact same thing of you had a plan and you just panicked made battle and didn't execute on it. Um, and I mean, partially here, I just want to mention this a little bit. Um, Letting Umbreon get that low with rocks up was a death sentence. I'm pretty sure in mocks I always ran body press on this Avalugg. You knew he probably had it. And it was just never worth getting a toxic off on this thing, especially when you had Clodsire at pretty much full health. Clodsire has recover. Even I think a Mountain Gale from this thing isn't breaking Clodsire, at least not in one hit. Um, and I mean, there's also Whimsicott, but Whimsicott is what you end up going to, and it does scare this thing out ultimately. This thing switches. So, yeah. Um, do you have anything else you want to say as we wait for the battle to catch up to his next big misplay?
um, no, I kind of want to just get to this next misplay right
Mhm.
here.
So, I don't think that clicking Leech Seed again on the King Gambit was actually a misplay. I wanna defend that briefly. Um,
You're gonna have a hard time with a Sword Stance King Gambit in front of this guy.
Nothing switched in on this. He should've sacked off Umbreon, but I think his intention here was, "I can't U-turn, I can't hard switch, or else something else that is important is going to die, so I'm going to let Whimsicott die." At least I hope that was his thought process, 'cause that's
Uh,
probably what I
uh,
would've done.
you turn still. So wait, hold on. Do we know the Whimsicott set?
We know it has Leech Seed, U-turn, and knockoff.
So I'm gonna say it is a misplay, even if you don't want to swap. for the simple fact of you have knockoff, you have a fourth move. I don't know what that fourth move is, but
Mhm.
either you turning into Umbreon or knocking off, getting a little more chip on King
He
Gambit.
already did knock it off.
But still, a little bit more chip on knockoff will save you from a low roll versus Leech Seed that does absolutely nothing and just sacking your Mon for free.
Yep, no, I do agree, and I think he should have sacked Umbreon instead. Umbreon never came back in. It was dead to rocks. Um, so I think he should have sacked Umbreon instead of Whimsicott. But I don't inherently think that that was as big of a misplay as just, like, forgetting that Prankster didn't work, 'cause he did it earlier in the battle. King Gambit switched in on a Leech Seed, and he saw that
Yeah,
it
there
didn't
was
work.
2 turns ago, so
Mhm.
just right above the knockoff.
Um,
So it's one of those things that should have been very fresh.
this was the misplay.
Uh,
This right here, sending in Darmanitan, was the misplay. Because +2 Sucker Punch always kills. And you had Aegislash, who we made specifically to play mind games around the King Gambit. And with its Sucker Punch, King's Shield on knockoff or something, lower its attack. We built this Aegislash that way it could somewhat deal with King Gambit. Granted, we didn't prep for Swords Dance King Gambit, but still, I think you had a Colbur Berry too. And this is stuff that we don't necessarily know from in battle, but I know from helping him prep. You had a Colbur Berry. You could have taken that hit. You could have killed that King Gambit. Um, and you had no reason to sack Darmanitan there. That is why Garchomp just comes in and, spoiler alert, wins from here. Because that is just what happens. And again, it was just you had a plan, you didn't execute on it. Um, which is unfortunate because you spend a lot of time prepping for this matchup. You tried really hard, and ultimately, I think it was just this is your first league match, and you wanted to win a little bit too much. It got to you. Um, any
yeah,
comments?
and I really think that Dragon can do well because like overall it wasn't like played like completely terribly. Like there's plenty of things I can see the intention, I can see the thought process. It's just like we've been saying, take that extra second, and
Hmm.
this entire battle could have gone around. And like it's definitely an uphill swing, especially where his team in particular struggles with Mega Venusaur.
Yeah.
But that's gonna happen in leagues. There's always gonna be that one Pokemon that you're just like, I don't like this,
Hmm.
and you learn to adapt.
Uh, and yeah, I think my last comment and like kind of advice to Dragon is as we continue, we move forward, doing a lot of mocks with you and seeing this battle and how it played out. The number one thing that happened in literally every single one is you just completely misplayed Darmanitan. In every single mock in this battle, Darmanitan came in and died. Um, so learning how to use Darmanitan effectively and not getting it killed every time it comes in is going to skyrocket your performance. Darmanitan is a very good Pokemon. It clicks buttons and usually just wins if you just have to figure out how to get into that position. Um,
One more complaint towards Shy team not meme enough.
True. I agree. Um, I'm disappointed, Shy. Although I'm not as disappointed as I am in you, Mason, but we'll get to that. Um, so next up is my battle versus Storm Center. Don't have a lot of comments here. I have a few turns in particular that I want to talk about, but I'm just gonna hit play. Um, and the kind of number one thing I recorded this battle too. It should already be uploaded. It's actually already uploaded by the time we're recording this. So go watch that if you want a bit more details on my thought process behind this battle. But number one misplay. Two things. One in prep and one just a misplay in this battle already. Um, the Scolipede was Swords Dance, but couldn't hit 3 of my Pokemon out of my draft, like, at all, and it was your lead was clicking Swords Dance with it. Just seems kind of a little bit gung ho. I think you should have clicked spikes there, and those spikes, that chip would have went a long way overall throughout the battle compared to setting up Sword Stance and switching out. Um,
Um, I would
and
also like to point out a
mhm,
thing here.
go ahead.
Um, can we also just throw out the blatant throwing that you were doing, where like 5 of your Mons just died a Mega Charizard X, and it didn't show up. That's on this team.
5?
Mega Chars. Uh, you have the Iron Treads,
Iron Treads, Klefki, Beedrill, and
Klefki,
Vikavolt.
Vikavolt.
Mhm.
So, maybe not Iron Valley. I thought that was Steel
Uh,
for some
no,
reason.
Iron Valiant and Ogerpon were my answers to the Charizard, as well as Klefki with Thunderwave. I paralyzed it, and then something else came in and killed. Also,
Dragon
foul
Dance is a
play.
move.
Foul play.
Don't spoil moves. That's irrelevant. Um, but Mega Charizard definitely
I
could
had
have. I
answers for
feel
Mega
could have done.
Charizard, though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, both teams are
You're-
going to have answers for things, but it's just like Mega Charizard still could have done work. I would have liked to
I
see it
I
here.
absolutely agree. It could have done. It could have steamrolled my team. Um, not really, but like it could have put in a lot of work. It would have gotten a kill or two. But like my team was specifically built with that in mind. So it's not really like a misplay or a misprep that Mega Charizard does a lot
I
of
am more
damage. I
hating on
needed these
you for
Pokemon for
bringing
other
this.
things.
I
I
am more
needed these
hating
Pokemon
on
for other
you.
things, and I had potential ways of dealing with Mega Charizard.
Too much steel.
Too much
Don't
steel,
lie.
never enough steel. 3 steel types is great.
You
Um,
keep saying 3 steel types. What is your third steel type then?
Vikavolt! Terra
Oh, that's
Steel!
right. I forgot it's tier. Yeah, now it's the third steel type. I was just like, wait, if it's not Iron Valley, who the fuck is it?
No, but, the big misplay on Storm's part here, this Aerodactyl truly steamrolled my team. The only Pokemon I had to handle it was my Terra Steel Vikavolt. I'm pretty sure, like, literally everything else died to, like, a combination of Earthquake, Dual Wing Beat, and Stone Edge. Um, so the fact that it just died here so early is a little bit upsetting, especially when you had something like Aggron who could have come in and taken that Iron Head like a champion. Um, just sacking it off for that damage on Iron Treads, I don't think was worthwhile. Um, but yeah, that was honestly, I think, the biggest misplay on Storm's part throughout this entire matchup. Outside of just prep and not being prepared for my steel types properly. Um, I think losing the Aerodactyl early was huge.
I also I think he kind of has like one of Shy's problems of where sometimes he just sees the setup move and he wants to just click.
Wants to click it. Yep.
Because
I,
like
I definitely agree.
we'll see Scolipede later has spikes on it and it
Hmm.
immediately clicks Sword Stance turn one. Annihilate immediately clicked bulk up.
Hmm. And yeah, that they were just like if Annihilate and like Klefki is gonna have a prankster priority move to do something to this Annihilate. I sent it in for a reason, and you have Sandy Shocks, who just kind of comes in and clicks Earth Power, uh, for free. You didn't need to let Annihilate get paralyzed. You should have like I think generally clicking like Drain Punch or Rage Fist or something, uh, instead of bulk up, especially this early in the battle, would have been a safer play. And then seeing the Clef Key come out, switching to Sandy Shocks. Although we will see that that was booster energy, and he may not have wanted to pop that so early, so I get it. Um,
Uh
but yeah, just clicking the big red button a little bit early.
Yeah, and I also kind of want to specify this because I've kind of pointed out in some of the other battles. He was down Aerodactyl, so I can see clicking bulk up and like wanting to go in for like, yeah, I'm gonna get Annihilate bulked up, and then it's just gonna cleave through some of this team, get me back into it. Before you go for that play of like, yeah, I'm gonna go back into it, you need to look at the team and be like, what stops this?
Mhm,
Klefki, Prankster, Thunderwave, that immediately shuts down basically any setup sweeper.
mhm,
And so it's things like that. Do they have a major defensive wall? Do they have a prankstermon? Do they have something that's just not going to care?
yeah,
Uh
um,
so it's good to try and swing back for that momentum if you get down them on, but you also don't want to just gung ho it, balls to the wall,
and
throw yourself into it.
just so people don't think that we're specifically targeting them here, I'm about to shit on myself here for probably the biggest misplay I could have
I hate
possibly
this
made, and
one
I
so
say
much.
it in chat right there. I'm a buffoon. Um, I sent Mega Beedrill in without thinking. I said, "Oh, Annihilate is pretty low. I can probably get a kill here, and then get some momentum, pivot out to something else." I immediately ran the Calyx after that, and saw that I was doing like 8%. I think knockoff did like 20% max, and I realized my mistake very quickly. Um, and because of it, I had to sack off Iron Treads. I think I made the right plays to get myself out of there, but I just very much made the wrong play in that situation. Either Vikavolt or uh, Iron Valiant would have been the smarter play. Both could have broken this thing from where it was at and outsped. Um, Mega Beedrill was just never doing that, and I clicked my favorite button. I clicked it too
We just click
fast.
buttons too sometimes.
Hmm. So yeah, I pivot out with U-turn. I send in Iron Treads to die, get myself out of there safely, relatively, because I mentioned in my video as well. Iron Treads didn't do a lot into your team, in my opinion. I brought Iron Treads mostly for Tapu Lele, who didn't come. So, but yeah, I had to pop my booster energy early because of my own mistake on Iron
uh,
Valiant. So,
Also, I want to say this Inteleon just constantly clicking snipe shot when you have a water absorb mon. Your
hmm
choice specs also, literally anything else would have been better. Either you turn to try and like momentum out of it, air slash, try and get some flinch hacks going on.
yeah,
Anything would have been better than just wasting your time and letting free switches happen. And I like the first time doing it, I can see it being like, oh yeah, a water absorb mon. I forgot about it. But it happens several times throughout this battle.
it happens twice. Inteleon comes out twice, and both times he does it. And the final time was when Inteleon was your last Pokemon left. So I really don't get that one. Um, but
I mean,
because
at
you
that
you could
point,
have
I can
never
be like,
won.
end of the match.
Yeah, but
But
you could have never won with that button. You could have clicked any other button, had a chance of winning. Like Dark Pulse, you flinched out my, you almost flinched out my Ogrepon. We'll get to that at the end, but you literally almost flinched it out, and that was like it would have been a much better odds of you winning ultimately than clicking the move that I had an immunity to.
yeah, and
Um,
sometimes just you can get one or two more kills, even if you're not going to win. And at like the end of the season, differential, if that ends up mattering, and you're like trying to actually get into the finals of like a league,
mhm,
those one or two kills can add up.
yep, I agree. Another small. I don't know if it was necessarily a misplay. I wanted to talk about was Aggron clicked Earthquake into my Vikavolt. I don't know if it was just he forgot it had Levitate, or if he was just I don't really know, but it gave me a free turn to heal. I mean, ultimately, I was going to probably be able to heal off the damage either way. Although if he got that crit head smash he got next, then I would have been in a really, really bad position. But
How much? Let's see, 43. I mean, you were already low, so he might have just killed you anyways.
yeah, no, I was at 28%. So the head smash did 26 without a crit. The first one at least. So I don't know. I could have probably lived if he clicked head smash. Also,
It may have been a roll, but
yeah, but just
double
clicking
edge.
earthquake there wasn't a great play. So was neither was clicking double edge there. I think you pretty much always just spammed head smash was the play. Um,
And also, if you want to pause it real quick,
mhm.
to just point out, sometimes that we're also really dumb. There was twice during this battle while I was watching it live. At first, I was just like, "Isn't Aggron Mega? Why is it holding leftovers?" I don't know why I thought that. I'm dumb. And then I even was just like, "Hey, how come you're not just earthquaking this Vikavolt?" So before anyone's just like, like we said, we're not just hating on you. Sometimes we're also dumb.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And from here, I think we'll end up seeing I end up playing for differential. Vikavolt gets low, and I end up saving it. Um, I switch out to Iron Valiant. I risk a crit because I knew Iron Valiant could take one without the crit,
Also,
and
pause
I
it.
played for differential. What's up?
I just also want to point out because of how low Vikavolt is, that earlier head smash, even if you rolled a 26 when you were at like 28%,
I would have died to poison.
yeah, so
Well,
at
no,
this
because I would have
point,
gotten the
Vikavolt would
Roostoff
have died.
first. I would have gotten the Roostoff
Well,
first, so I wouldn't have died to
well, it's
poison.
just like that little bit of chip damage.
Hmm.
You weren't poisoned at the time and stuff, but it's one of those things like your moves that you make throughout the battle add up. That chip damage adds up.
Yeah.
Those like sometimes you just get screwed by rolls, but like, and this is kind of also falls back to like the other battles of where I talked about like the knockoff on the King Gambit. It's doing like 2%. But when a Pokemon lives on 2% and then kills one of your Mons or something else, it gets really upsetting.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, and then yeah, I want to kind of speed it through here a little bit more because we've been recording for like 45 minutes. Uh,
Woo!
Ultimately, yeah, clicking Snipe Shot here was definitely a misplay on his part. I made a pretty big misplay as well by clicking Knockoff, though. I should have just
Yeah.
let you click Snipe Shot until the battle was over. And I gave you that chance by clicking Knockoff, and you almost took it and ran with it, and I was terrified. The fact that you
Yeah.
flinched that first one terrified me.
Hacks are a thing. You can win with hacks.
Yeah, and he never could have won there because Mega Beedrill outspeeds and kills Inteleon from there every time. But
Mhm.
it would have taken that what I'd worked pretty hard the previous turns and made a big risk trying to preserve differentials, so that way I came out of this battle a bit ahead. I could have easily lost and made this a 3-0 instead of a 4-0. Just by that one misplay that I made. And we're about to see there were a lot of 4-0 wins this week. There was 3 4-0s and a 6-0, so a lot of people are tied right now in our standings. But last battle here, we have Panda versus Blank, and I'm just going to let this play because I don't think there was a lot that went. Either player really misplayed early on. Panda, if you see something come up that you want to talk about, let me know. But I have one specific moment I'm waiting for. Um,
Um, yeah, I want to say that this battle probably was one of the longer ones time-wise, just because I spent a lot of time very much being like, oh yeah, I need to pick very carefully because if I get myself in a bad position and Shiyu comes out, I'm losing him on.
mhm,
And that terrified me this entire battle.
yeah. And now I'm gonna take this opportunity while we're waiting a little bit to chastise you. You said Shy's team wasn't memey enough. You're the one who's always telling me in NPBL to bring Choice Spike Slowbro. What's going on here, Mason?
Chi-Yu's what's happening, okay? Chi-Yu. Every
Uh,
other battle, I am willing to bring a more offensive Slowbro, but this one, I was so terrified of Chi-Yu.
yeah, Slowbro didn't get a single
Um,
kill. I'm disappointed.
yeah, I'm very disappointed myself.
Uh,
Um, so I think one thing that we can also point out, if you want to pause it here before we get too far into this, actually, yeah, pause it here because I also want to talk about a misplay that just happened. Um, there's one set of spikes up here.
mhm.
Um, Ting Lu, first off, you should have always been clicking Stealth Rock first.
Stealth rocks first,
Just
and
because
then spite.
I have Landorus, Ninetales is here. How low is Cinderace right now?
Cinderace is at 15% currently.
Is it already at 15%?
Yeah,
My lord.
when it was just out here, I'll go back. When it was just out
You can
here.
also just hover over the Cinderace and see its
Well,
health.
yeah, but I want to just show it was this switch in that got it down to 15%.
Yes.
It came in, took spikes, took poison, and then took poison again, and then it switched out.
Yeah, so just Stealth Rocks here would have guaranteed Cinderace can't come back in. Would have been shipping the Alolan Ninetales, who I brought in several times for Veil, which kind of what won me this battle very easily.
Mhm.
Um, Aurora Veil MVP, no question about that. And would have just been shipping Lando the entire time, who honestly was kind of in some scary spots at times. Um, King Lu was not utilized enough this battle, and Hazards, I think, would have made the biggest difference in this battle, which didn't really come up in any of the other fights.
Mhm.
I think someone else had set spikes. I forget who, but Ting Lu being on this team would have just not being utilized enough, especially in this early game of where he very much kept Chi-Yu in the back and Tyrantrum in the back so far. Even Mega Mawile has been in the back.
Mhm.
If you're gonna play defensively at first, get the Ting Lu out. I don't have anything that really threatens it on this team, which was kind of a big misplay on my part because I was so hyper focused on Chi-Yu.
Mhm.
If it came in a couple of more times and you used it a little more, setting up spikes, setting up stealth rocks, I would have been in a very bad spot. Um, Now to get to this point, Keldeo clicking substitute on me on the Ninetales you already know has encore that has already encored you once is just throwing.
It's not that
There's
like it's not a great play, but it wasn't a terrible one either. Cause it's not like getting locked into Encore was really doing much other than stalling out the Veil in the snow.
it's one of those things that lets me start just moon blasting for free, and then I have Keldeo dead to rights whenever I want it to.
Mhm.
Or if you have to swap something else in it, then it eats a free hit. If especially where he just basically clicked toxic on me and then swapped out, just click the toxic, get encored, swap out, go to
Mhm.
Ting Lu.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree it wasn't a great play, but I don't think it was as bad as you're making it seem.
It's not the worst. It's one of those things. It very much could have ended up in Keldeo just being dead and Ninetales not poisoned.
Yep.
And it's one of those things of if you're trying to poison them on, just poison it, because if I had encored it, your plan was done. But
Yep. No, I
was just
agree.
like, you're going to swap here. Maybe you just click substitute for. That was a little over prediction on my part, but if I played it a little more safe, would have just ruined the entire thing.
Mhm. And so now we're at the point in the battle where the rest of the battle, I think, up until now, despite Panda having a lot to say, I think it was relatively even. Um, I think you were playing to your win conditions very well, Blank. This is when things go wrong. I think we talk a little bit later after the battle where your cat got in the way and actually ended up clicking some buttons for you, which Might have changed the battle, might not have, but I think ultimately this was probably the best play you could have possibly made right here. Sending in this Tyrantrum and clicking Head Smash for free here was huge, and as we're about to see, it secures you 2 kills. Just by having good placement of this amazing Pokemon. Unfortunately,
Uh,
that miss there 100% matters, but, yeah, I mean
it would have made the fight a lot closer at the end. If there was rocks up, it would have definitely been the
mhm,
giant game changer. But overall, like
yep,
it's one of those things. The accumulation of just small mistakes do add up, and then sometimes you just get a bad thing. But yeah, it is very unfortunate. I fully expected that head smash to hit my Alolan Ninetales, and I was just like, "What is my play out from here?"
mhm,
Um, which I'll be 100% honest, the game plan for that, if Ninetales died, was rough as hell. Um,
yeah, if Ninetales
so
didn't get that chip on Tyrantrum, it was a different game, for sure. Um, I think here is where the misplay started, and I think the next one is where your cat actually got involved from what you had said, but here,
mhm.
I never would have left Tyrantrum in. Um, Tyrantrum can come you're never killing through the Veil, especially at -1 from Intimidate. Tyrantrum can come back out after something else dies later, and even if Veil is still up, without the Intimidate drop, you're still hitting something like a truck. Um, but the fact that you kinda just sacked it here for a little bit of damage uh, on the Landorus, when Keldeo wasn't doing anything the rest of this match, Keldeo had very poor matchups into the rest of these Pokemon. Your Keldeo
And it
had
was paralyzed.
yeah, it was paralyzed, it had Scald, Calm Mind, Toxic, and Sub. Sylveon was already burned, so you weren't doing any damage to Sylveon. Same with the Roserade, you couldn't poison it, and Scald was doing nothing. And Cinderace was pretty much dead on switching anyways. So Keldeo really wasn't needed for this matchup. Sacking it there would have been perfect. So that way Tyrantrum could have come back in, and you let Tyrantrum die instead. And then you proceed to let Chiyu die, because Aurora Veil is still up, and Chiyu can't do
Um,
anything.
we also did talk about this here.
This is, I think, where his cat got involved. His cat sent in
Yeah, the
Chiyu for
cat
him.
definitely sent in Chiyu. Um, and it's one of those things. Sometimes misclicks happen.
Hmm.
Um, whether it be from a pain in the ass animal or just user. Um,
Absolutely.
but also don't forget to like not just get 100% tilted off of
Hmm.
that sometimes. And just like remember what your sets were because we talked about it after the battle. But um, she used flame plate, and yet you didn't click the flamethrower on the Landorus, which
Hmm. And actually, I think
it,
Overheat would have killed here. I don't know if you ended up putting Overheat on it. I know I always advocate for Overheat because you only really have 3 moves you want to put on Chiyu ever. Fourth move, Overheat, is always a safe bet. I think Flame
um
Plate Overheat killed,
yeah, that honestly probably would have killed looking at what
like
Dark
even
Pulse
through
just
Veil.
did.
Um,
Um So like an overheat killed the Landorus, you still could have won this fight. You swap it out, sack the Keldeo, bring it back in, and just flamethrower the rest of my team.
mhm,
I lost.
yeah,
And so it's like
and it is just kind of unfortunate. Again, Keldeo just kind of sits here in the back for the rest of the battle and then dies the next time it comes in. So Keldeo really could have been sacked to keep your 2 nukes healthy and safe. Um, and it's unfortunate that those 2 major misplays are really what cost you this game. Because I think the rest of the game, especially for this is your first actual competitive battle in Pokemon. You've played like a few other kind of casual battles with me and Dragon, um, just kind of having fun when I'm bothering you guys because I wanted to play Pokemon. But this was your first actual competitive battle, and you played really fucking well. it was really those 2 plays that cost you the game. And
Yeah, and I'll be 100% honest. The beginning of that battle, I very much was just like, "Oh, I thought this was an inexperienced person. Like, this Crobat is actually prepped to like get hit by my Cinderace, and like you weren't making like overly bad plays. Like you knew when to kind of go for a substitute on the Ninetales. It kind of sucks that I had Encore just thrown on there. If I didn't have Encore, that Keldeo just clicking substitute in my face, I I was not prepped for that.
mhm,
um, so very much you got the right idea, but there's just these little things to learn for like the end game that I think that once you get those more readily into just like, oh, decision making skill trees, um you'll do wonderful.
yep. And, we're gonna skip talking about the stats. My screen share is now useless to you, by the way, Panda, because I'm switching to
Woo!
a different page, but we're gonna skip talking about the stats because 'cause we've been going for 50 minutes now. Um, we're gonna go straight into the trades that were made. So, first person here who made any trades was, our good buddy Shykrow, who we wish we could have had here today, but he is unfortunately not available, doing his own videos and such. Um, he traded Pheasantipity for Grimmsnarl, and immediately this trade just took his already insane team and made it 100 times better. Um, I think his speed tiers don't really appreciate what happened. I think Pheasantipity speed tier is really good. Base 99 forces base 100s to run max speed. Um, but literally every other aspect of his team got better. His type matchups are significantly better. He's still weak to ground, but like who cares? He's not weak to ghost or psychic anymore with Grimmsnarl. Um, he traded a little bit of bulk on his team for overall just a much stronger team. Grimmsnarl kind of hits like a truck if it wants to. And he got a lot of just good uh good disruption with Prankstermon like Grimmsnarl, clicking Parting Shot, clicking Taunt, clicking Trick, knock. I'm pretty sure it gets Knockoff. Although I don't know. Thunder Wave, overall a very good Pokemon. Does a lot for your team. You got anything to comment on it?
Uh Grimmsnarl number one.
Grimmsnarl
Not
number
really,
one.
but
All right. Um, the next person who made trades was Voltage, who we talked about. He had the number two team, and his big issue was that his team didn't really function outside of rain, and so he fixed that. Um, yeah. I didn't fix his Terra Captains on his original team on this dock, but his Terra Captains were Cofagrigus and Aurorus. He switched that to Cofagrigus and Rotom Frost. Rotom Frost came Electric, Ice, and Poison Terras, which are all solid, in my opinion. Um, he traded the Aurorus for Alakazam, the Charjabug for Galarian Rapidash, and the Ferocid for Murkrow, giving him Pokemon who outspeed his base 100. He can actually function speed-wise outside of rain, which is fantastic. Type-wise, he lost some weaknesses, gained some new ones. He gained a pretty big weakness to ice, especially with Freeze Dry as a pretty spammable move. Ice hits his team really hard. Um, he gained a new weakness to Fairy, getting rid of a resistance and adding in a weakness. And he lost his big weakness to Fire, but like overall, he made that ice weakness is a big one. Um,
um
yeah,
yeah,
Prankster Murkrows
especially
can do
like you
things.
said especially like you said with the freeze dry thing. Um, on one hand, it's just like with the rain team, that's gonna show up, especially where it's just like Kingdra, Mega
Hmm.
Swampert, both Pokemon that
And
are
Pelipper.
like best. Yeah, Pelipper's never staying in on a freeze dry. um, it's one of those things you can sack Pelipper, get your rain in,
Hmm.
Kingdra Swampert. If they're not killing whatever's freeze drying, that's kind of just unfortunate because they just die. Um, you very much do need more of a hey here. And I mean, you have Blissey,
Uh-huh.
so it's not like you have a very good special defensive wall. And arguably even Goldango, just because I steel type resists the steel ice move.
Hmm. Absolutely, but
But
I think
that also forces you into very predictable plays.
yeah, you have Tangrowth, Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Kingdra, Murkrow, and Zapdos, who are all weak to freeze dry. Goldango resists, and Rotom Frost resists, and then Blissey can definitely switch in and take one like a champion. But that's over half your team that gets kind of destroyed by one move. That is pretty common on both ice and water types. Is it common on water types? Not really. It's mostly ice types.
Um, I mean, a number of water types just get ice moves. It's not like completely unheard of for like them to be
Yeah,
able to slap that in.
like ice beam, but not like freeze dry. Um,
A
so
Lapras walks through this team.
yeah, mm, not entirely wrong.
No, no.
Um,
It's obviously not that just like cut straight forward, but it does a lot of work.
mhm. So the next person who made trades only made one, like kind of like Shy, and that was Storm, who swapped Tapu Lele for Clefable, which again I think this was a very good trade on his part. Um, we talked about how Tapu Lele's Psychic Train wasn't really doing anything for the team; it was actually kind of hindering Weavile. Um, and so he swapped it for Clefable, who I think with Unaware and Magic Guard just provides a lot more to the team overall. I think its speed tier is really good for his team too. Defensively, it doesn't change a whole lot. It gets rid of his ghost weakness, but um, ultimately, yeah, I think just Clefable's a really good Pokemon. It gives him a Cleric, Wish support, and it just adds a lot that Tapu Lele didn't.
I would also like to say two things about Clefable. One, it gives him a wish user.
Yep.
Two, it also because I know that we were talking about this after his battle, of where he needs to make sure Annihilate isn't getting statused.
Heal
Clefable
Bell.
has Heal Bell.
Yep.
That's a move. Keep it in mind.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think Clefable is going to do wonders for him. I think it is much better on this team specifically than Tapu Lele. Um, and I can't wait to see what it does. Um, the next one who made trades would be my partner in crime here, Panda. Um,
Oh no.
overall, I think these trades were really good for you. I do have one thing I'm gonna say before I even get into the actual specific trades. Why, my good sir, did you switch out your Pokemon that disrupts weather and clicks freeze dry like nobody's business right before fighting the rain team?
You know, I don't need a handicap.
Like, I genuinely think you are going to struggle with this matchup now, when it would have been relatively easy before you made the trades. And you could have made these trades week 3. But otherwise, like, I think these trades are all fantastic for your team as a whole. It's just this particular matchup. It feels kind of
Uh,
awkward into.
yeah, it's one of those things. Even when I was making the trades, I very much was just like I could think about my future matchups. Or I can think about just kind of working on a more balanced team and trying to, especially where I've been basically in hiatus of this for like 3 years now.
Hmm.
Um, just kind of working back into, especially just some new mons, trying to see how I feel about some other mons. Because like my biggest thing was I wanted a different mega, but it was trying to get rid of Mega Sableye and how do I make the rest of the team work, and I couldn't pick the exactly what I wanted. Um,
Hmm.
so I also didn't want to just like try and meta game the whole draft of just like, yeah, I'm gonna save this mon so that way my second week battle is super easy, and then I'll trade it week 3 because like
Yeah.
even if I trade it week 3, if Voltage makes it to the finals,
Playoffs. Yeah, you're gonna
I
have to deal with that anyways.
I need to deal with it again. I need to be like, okay, here's where I struggled with this team.
Hmm.
Here's how I can adjust. And it's part of what makes me very terrified for the finals is like Blank's team, if he gets better by the end of this,
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
am
yeah.
I am dead.
If Blank makes it to finals, I think he has a very good shot at winning the entire thing. He's already shown great growth just from like starting our mocks to the actual battle against you. He's gonna keep getting better. He's gonna be terrifying. Um, but to quickly actually go over the trades that were made. Alolan Ninetales was traded for Zygarde 10%. Mega Sableye was traded for Mega Kangaskhan. Gothitelle was traded for Scrafty, and Walrein was traded for Berserker. Um, and overall, I think these are great trades. Your speed tiers don't really change too much. You're better in some areas, you're a little bit worse in others comparatively, but your speed tiers were pretty alright, pretty average to begin with. I think where it really shines is you got rid of your two major weaknesses to Rock and Ghost with these trades, which is huge, and you didn't pick up any major weaknesses in the process. Um, Overall, your team went you lost a little bit of bulk to gain a lot of speed and offense on this team, which I think is going to do a lot for you going forward. And yeah, I'm really excited to see Terra Berserker because he swapped Walrein for Berserker. Uh, Berserker became a Terra captain. I believe the uh, the Terra types are Steel, Ghost, and Fighting, which are all insane. Um, Berserker, Terra Steel with Steely Spirit, Choice Band hits like a small truck. I was doing calcs for fun against Alolan Ninetales because it's quad weak to Steel. It can do like almost 1,000%. It's
Yeah.
nuts.
Don't slack on my boy.
Um, so very, very strong picks, very strong Pokemon. Looking forward to seeing how you use them. Intimidate and Moxie on Scrafty are great abilities. Mega Kangaskhan is a really interesting Pokemon. Really, it's really, really strong. A double power up punch for damage plus Swords Dance is insane. Uh, Making sure that everyone does know that Seismic Toss on it is a complex ban that we have done for this league, so you're not allowed to run Seismic Toss and get a free. It's like I'm pretty sure it's 150 damage, or does it actually do the full 200? I don't remember, but it's like just free damage,
Free
which is
big
dumb.
damage.
Yeah. So that's banned, but otherwise Mega Kangaskhan is still just a very strong Pokemon. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how you use it. I'm looking forward to seeing Zygarde 10% put in some work. Zygarde 10% is like one
Oh,
of the
he's
few
never coming.
Pokemon. It's one of the few Pokemon that answers my Vikavolt very well. Like my strategy of Vikavolt with Terra Electric and Terra Steel, um, being just kind of like, hey, with Levitate you can't hit my major weakness. Uh, Zygarde can.
I promise you, Zygarde's basically never coming, and when it does, it's probably gonna get one shot before it ever clicks a move. I
Don't
am
say
terrible
that.
with that mon.
Don't
I,
say that. I think Zygarde's gonna do wonderful things.
Dewgong will get more kills than Zygarde 10% by the end of this league,
Don't
I
say
promise you.
that. Alright. You're starting to upset me now. I was happy with you. You're starting to upset me. So we're gonna move on to our final person who made trades being Dragon. Um, he made a lot of trades that he kept switching, because none of them were technically taking effect yet. I allowed him to change his mind up until week 1 ended. So these are his final trades. His poor Pokemon sitting on the bench just watching like their coach come in and be like, you're gone. This person's in." And then another Pokemon sits down on the bench and then the next day, "Nope, you're gone now. I don't like you anymore. You look bad. You look ugly." Um,
You're smelly. Out of here.
just being terrified on who's next, who's on the chopping block. Um, ultimately he ended up settling on uh Hatterene for Zeraora, um, Gyarados for Volcanion, Rotom and Megaseptile for Megalopony, and Lopunny for Metagross. Um, and I think overall he used all 4 of his trades for this. And yes, 5 Pokemon, getting rid of 5, getting 4 Pokemon is legal trades. The trades are based off of how many Pokemon you receive, not how many Pokemon you get rid of. As long as you still have the 10 and 12, you're good. Um, and yeah, he got rid of Manaphy and Megafy and Lopunny for Metagross. That's right. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced like 3 different things there, but it's fine. You know what I meant.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't want to scroll down and look at his type matchups because I have a lot to say there. But just based off of the trades themselves first, do you have anything you want to say?
Um, I have not honestly been able to actually think about his team for more than 2 seconds because it keeps getting swapped around,
That
so
is
I have
very
no
fair.
comment on it.
Um, I will say because I've done a lot of mocks with him, he's asked me for a lot of help with this team. I think it is a pretty solid team. Zeraora and Megalopony as just a strong, fast pivot core is just really good into a lot of matchups. Metagross is a solid Pokemon who's going to do well in just about any team, and Volcanion definitely gives him some special offensive presence that he desperately needed. Uh, my big gripes come not in his speed tiers, which are fine, but on his type chart, where you can see his old team was only weak really to Rock and Ghost, which he handled very well with his trades. He's no longer really weak to either. Um, but he added 3 new weaknesses, which I'm really kind of upset about. He's weak to fire now, with 4 Pokemon who are weak to it, 1 immunity and 1 quad resistance. I think that's not that big of a deal. He can handle it very well. Colossal handles fire types very well, being immune to them and clicking super effective moves, and Volcanion, being quad resistant to fire types, also handles them very well, clicking super effective moves. Um, he added a fighting weakness, which he also has an immunity and 2 resistances to, and I think again handles pretty well, despite having a pretty big 4 Pokemon weak to it. Um, but the really really big one that I can't let slide is he has 5 Pokemon who are weak to ground and a quad weakness. Who just who joined?
It's
Who's
shy.
here? Shy, hello, welcome. We're at the end. I'll let you say something in a second here. Um, but yeah, he has 1 resistance to ground, being Whimsicott, and that if Garchomp got 3 kills on him last week, if he plays Shy again in the finals or in playoffs, Garchomp is going to get all 6. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. A strong ground type runs through his team. Hello, Shy. Welcome. No? Nothing to say? Swedish boy? Hello?
Swedish
Shy?
boy's dead.
Oh no. Alright, well, do you have anything to say on that, Mason?
um, it's gonna be really interesting wondering who eats his team alive more, Garchomp or Lando.
Yeah.
They're gonna be competing for shell lead and using his team as fodder.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I feel bad because he was asking me a lot of questions, trying to get him to help me to help him with this team, and I kept just kind of saying, "Yeah, that works," without really thinking too much on it because I didn't have the time to. And I probably would have been able to point out this growing ground weakness, but ultimately, like this is some he has access to this exact dock. He should have been using it. He really should have seen this growing and should have been on top of it. Um, I'm not his babysitter. I'm not his handholder. Ultimately, and I feel bad, but I mean, I'm sure he will still be able to make it work. Things like air balloon on Colossal and just overall playing a bit more offensively with something like using Lopunny and Zeraora to just kind of pivot around. Um, using he doesn't. Did he end up? What are his? None of his terra types are really good for ground. I guess Terra Grass Colossal is going to be pretty big as well. Getting rid of a quad weakness to ground and replacing it with a resistance is going to be huge. He's probably going to bring that a lot. Um, but yeah, I think ultimately that is just really huge weakness that his team has now. It
Um,
just it sucks.
I can
I'm
talk
just gonna.
now.
Oh God,
Well,
hello.
too bad, Shy. Wait a goddamn second, because I'm about to say something. Um,
Okay.
uh, like you said, he does have access to the dock. I'll be 100% honest. When I was making my trades, I spent like 2 hours staring at that dock, just rotating out one mon at a time, being like, "Here are all the mons that are worth 4 points. Which ones help me best with like my type weaknesses and whatnot?"
Mhm,
Um, and like, sure, part of that is also like experience, but also I spent like 30 minutes figuring out how the type thing showed up, and then slowly just kept rotating things out, being like, okay, here's what the doc says is good. I didn't use my knowledge. I use whether or not green or red shows up. Red's typically bad. Green's good. And if nothing's there, then like bills, you don't worry about them.
mhm. And
Um,
before we let Shai introduce himself and get in here, I just want to say before the last trade that he had made, like his final change to his trades, uh, was the Gyarados for Volcanion, and he had Meloetta on here at one point that he traded for Metagross. And I think if he had just not done that, I think this team would have been a lot better. But now he got rid of an immunity for ground for two weaknesses, and that really shows. So, hello, Shy. Welcome. You're here at the end. You made a cameo.
Hey yo.
best cameo. This is what we've been waiting for.
How's it going? How did your week
I'm
one
just here
go?
to shout out my channel. I just uploaded my week 1 battle. It's pure shit because I didn't want to record it, but it's recorded and uploaded now. So yeah,
Hell
jag
yeah.
ska dit. I'ma
Hell
beat my
yeah.
meat.
Well, I will be watching that after this. Um,
Me beating my meat?
absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
All right. We've been recording for like over an hour now, so I think we should all go for our sanities. Have
and beat our meats.
no,
Arr.
please no. All right. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you for the week 2 battles.
Bye bye.